Let's cut across straight now to the Indian Ministry of External Affairs addressing
Nepal by the Indian side. Rekha Dixit from The Week has asked, can we have MEA's response to Nepal preventing flood mitigation work in Bihar? Manish Kumar Jha from Business World has asked, Bihar government has alarmed of flood threats as barricades put up by Nepal on its border with India is obstructing embankment repair work on Gandak barrage, essentially for flood control. In the wake of early monsoon in Bihar, what is the situation now and the steps taken by MEA to avert the crisis? Narendra Nath from Navbharat Times has asked, क्या भारत नेपाल के बीच सेक्रेटरी लेवल बातचीत का कोई प्रपोजल आया? क्या बिहार में बांध के मामले में विदेश मंत्रालय ने नेपाल से संपर्क किया? बिहार सरकार ने इसके लिए विदेश मंत्रालय को लिखा था.
See, to this, the response is that regarding these flood embankment works, there's already an existing bilateral mechanism between India and Nepal with regard to flooding and inundation works. And the embankment and anti-erosion works have already commenced. We are already ongoing on some of the major rivers along the India-Nepal border. Both sides are coordinating on a real-time basis to minimize the damage due to flooding and inundation in this monsoon season.
On the amendment of the Nepal constitution on its map, Mr. Shankar Kumar from India vs Disinformation has asked, did Nepali authorities contact their Indian counterparts after their parliament passed amendment bill for the incorporation of new Nepal map? Mukesh Kaushik from Dainik Bhaskar has asked, new official map of Nepal shows Lipu Lake area in their territory. Kailash Mansarovar Yatra passes through this area. How this new map and official claim of Nepal is going to impact the Kailash Mansarovar Yatra? Sanjeev Trivedi from News 24 has asked, has India established any contact with the Nepal government after it passed the law on new map?
You would have seen our response to media queries on the 13th of June, where we had come out with a detailed statement. And we have already made our position clear on this issue, so I would not like to add anything further.
There is a question on trade with Nepal by Siddhant Sibbal from WION. There are reports that state government of West Bengal has halted the movement of Nepali cargo trucks from the eastern border point of Kakarvitta. Do we have any comments on this?
Siddhant, I can inform you that trade and supplies are going on without any hindrance, including at the Kakarvitta-Panitanki border. And the two countries, we have extensive trade relations. Our bilateral trade is growing despite the lockdown. In fact, in the month of May, it surpassed $300 million. And despite the present challenging times of COVID, we have facilitated continuous and smooth flow of trade and supply of essential goods to Nepal.
Pranay Upadhyay from ABP News has asked, हाल ही में कुछ रिपोर्ट्स आई है जो बताती है कि नेपाल सेना कालापानी लिपु लेक और लिम्पियोदुरा इलाके में नई सीमा चौकियां बना रही है. इस संबंध में तनाव न बढ़े, इसके लिए नेपाल सरकार ने बातचीत के लिए क्या सैन्य या कूटनीतिक स्तर पर कोई बातचीत हुई है? Rekha Dixit from The Week has asked a similar question, saying that will India also post armed personnel all along the border?
प्रणय, इस पे मैं और कोई टिप्पणी नहीं करना चाहूंगा.
On the citizenship-related amendment in the Nepali constitution, Siddhant Sibbal has asked, ruling Nepal Communist Party's leader, Bishnu Rijal, has called the Roti Beti Ka Rishta with India old rhetoric. This even as country is mulling a new law under which the Indian women marrying Nepalese citizens will get citizenship after 7 years. Any reaction? Kallol from The Hindu has asked, Nepal's amended citizenship law will make foreign women wait for 7 years before becoming Nepali nationals. This is likely to affect Indians who are married with Nepali men. Will MEA respond?
We have seen the reports on this. What I'll say is that people of India and Nepal, we share deep-rooted and familial bonds. And these bonds reflect the close civilizational and cultural linkages between our two countries.
Sachin Butholia from Univarta has asked, there are reports that China has occupied some hectares of land and a village of Nepal illegally. How does India see this revelation? Sanjeev Trivedi from News 24 and Madhurendra from News Nation has also asked a question on similar lines.
I would not like to comment on this.
Moving to Pakistan, Siddhant Sibal from WION has asked, any reaction on Pakistan and FATF grey listing? This even the US State Department report said, Islamabad made no efforts to use domestic authorities to prosecute other terrorist leaders such as Jaish-e-Mohammed founder Masood Azhar and Sajid Mir, the mastermind of LET's 2008 Mumbai attacks.
On FATF, Pakistan continues to be on the FATF grey list, and it is yet to show action, yet to show progress on 13 of the 27 points under their action plan. This is despite all the deadlines for completing of the action have expired, and this has expired a long time ago. The continued grey listing of Pakistan by FATF vindicates our position that Pakistan has not taken concrete action to address international concerns regarding terror financing and safe havens which exist in that country.
Abhishek Jha from DD News has asked, US State Department report says about Pakistan's complacency in prosecuting 2008 Mumbai attacks mastermind Masood Azhar and Sajid Mir. Your reaction on this?
Well, this only vindicates our stand that Pakistan continues to be a safe haven for international terrorists and terrorist entities.
Sridhar Kumaraswamy from Asian Age is asking, what is MEA's reaction to Pakistan naming 4 Indian nationals as terrorists?
Well, it is interesting that Pakistan has expressed surprise that UN has not approved the designation of Indian nationals proposed by Pakistan for listing under the UN's 1267 sanctions list. This could have only been expected given that those states sponsoring terrorism obviously don't have any credibility, whether it is on leveling fictitious charges against others or on their propaganda campaign on J&K.
Sanjeev Trivedi from News 24 has asked, the MEA release on the downsizing of the staff strength at the Pakistani High Commission in Delhi says it was done as the staff had terror links. Could MEA please elaborate on this a bit further?
See, I would refer you to our press release where we have clearly stated the reasons for asking for their repatriation.
Javed Akhtar from Deutsche Welle Urdu has asked, any update about Indians stranded in Pakistan and returning today?
Yes, I can confirm that repatriation of Indian nationals has started today from ICP Atari, and this is expected to continue tomorrow and the day after. In fact, 748 Indian nationals have registered to return from Pakistan, and we are facilitating their return in coordination with the Indian High Commission and the state governments.
Madhurendra from News Nation has asked, पाकिस्तान एक बार फिर OIC में कश्मीर के मुद्दे को लेकर गया, भारत की क्या प्रतिक्रिया है?
देखिए, इसमें मधुरेंद्र मैं आपसे ये कहना चाहूंगा कि इसमें हमारा पोजीशन, हमारी स्थिति में इसमें कोई अस्पष्टता नहीं है और आप इस मामले पर सुसंगत होंगे। OIC के पास सिर्फ भारत के आंतरिक मामलों में कोई लोकल स्टैंड है नहीं, और जिसमें कि केंद्र शासित प्रदेश जम्मू कश्मीर भी शामिल है, तो दे हैव नो लोकल स्टैंड टू कमेंट ऑन द इंटरनल अफेयर्स ऑफ इंडिया। और हम लोग ये पहले भी कह चुके हैं कि OIC should desist from making such unwanted references.
I have 2 questions on the H-1B visa issue. Pranay Upadhyay from ABP News has asked, अमेरिका के राष्ट्रपति डोनाल्ड ट्रंप ने बीते दिनों H-1B, H-2B, B-1 और B-2 समेत कई अन्य श्रेणी के वीजाओं में कटौती का ऐलान किया है। भारत इस तरह की कटौती पर अपनी चिंताएं उठाता रहा है। ऐसे में भारत की बातों की पूरी तरह अनदेखी किए जाने पर विदेश मंत्रालय की क्या प्रतिक्रिया है? Nainima Basu from the Print has asked, why has India not reacted on the H-1B visa issue? How can you be sure that the US will not extend it beyond December 2020?
We have seen the proclamation issued by President Trump on 22nd of June, temporarily suspending entry of certain categories of non-immigrant visa holders and their family members till 31st December 2020. This is likely to affect movement of Indian skilled professionals who avail of these non-immigrant visa programs to work lawfully in the US. We are assessing the impact of the order on Indian nationals and industry in consultation with stakeholders. People-to-people linkages and trade and economic cooperation, especially in technology and innovation sectors, are an important dimension of the US-India partnership. High-skilled Indian professionals bring important skill sets, bridge technological gaps, and impart a competitive edge to the US economy. They have also been a critical component of the workforce that is at the forefront of providing COVID-19 related assistance in key sectors, including health, information technology, and financial services. The US has always welcomed talent, and we hope our professionals will continue to be welcomed in the USA in the future.
I have three questions on Raksha Mantri's visit to Moscow. Arunim Bhuyan from ETV Bharat has asked, as our defense minister represented our country at the Victory Day parade in Moscow yesterday, can you give details of what advances have been made in India-Russia defense deals? Also, what is the latest position of the US on India's purchase of the S-400 missile system from Russia? Shailesh from National Defense has asked, Defense Minister Rajnath Singh just visited Russia to take part in the Victory Day celebrations. Was there any discussion with Russia related to ongoing India-China LAC standoff? If yes, what was the outcome? Russia is a friend to both India and China. In case of conflict, would Russia side with India? Has India got any assurance on this? Manish Kumar Jha from Business World has asked, during the visit of Defense Minister to Russia and the address by EM S. Jaishankar, there were reports about the purchase of 12 Sukhoi 30 MKI and 21 MiG-29s from Russia under the government to government. Could MEA clarify?
Regarding discussions during the visit of Raksha Mantri to Moscow, I would refer you to the remarks made by him in his press interaction on the 23rd of June. And on the purchase of specific defense equipment, I would ask you to check with the Ministry of Defense.
Devirupa Mitra from The Wire has asked, does India support the Russian proposal backed by China of a RIC defense chiefs meet?
Devirupa, I don't have any information on that, and I would not like to comment. I would like you to draw your attention to the opening remarks made by EM at the RIC video conference, which were put out by us on the 23rd of June.
Mahasiddiqui from CNN News 18 has asked, has there been any intimation from UK to India that Vijay Mallya can't be extradited just yet, as his request for political asylum is under consideration?
Maha, I don't have any further update on that. You would have heard what I conveyed in the pre-briefing last week, which is that we are in touch with the UK side for his early extradition. And on his asylum request, we've conveyed that there is no basis for such a request since we don't see any grounds for his persecution in India.
Kallol from The Hindu has asked, Taliban has said they are not behind the kidnapping of Afghan Sikh Nidan Singh. We will punish the kidnappers if we capture them. Will India respond to the statement?
Kallol, you would have seen the response I made to media queries on the 22nd of June, where we strongly condemned the abduction of Mr. Nidan Singh. And we see this as targeting and persecution of minority community by terrorists, and this is at the behest of their external supporters. We have called upon Afghanistan to ensure his safe and early release.
Prashant from AsiaNet has asked, has MEA informed Kerala about the practical issues related to COVID testing of all passengers coming on the Vande Bharat flights?
See, Prashant, there was a suggestion from the government of Kerala that COVID testing of passengers returning on Vande Bharat flights be done. And after consultation with our missions in the Gulf countries, we responded to them. That is to the Kerala government, and we indicated that there are practical difficulties in this regard. At present, only UAE has arrangements for full testing. Qatar provides for limited testing.